Okay, so we've made it to the final card. It's going to be a crazy fight between Cynthia Calvillo and Jessica Eye. But before we get into this fight, I just want to let you guys know that I've made predictions also on the other fighters, whether it's the prelim card or the rest of the main card on this UFC Fight Night. So if you want to check those out, subscribe to the channel to be notified when I post, and just feel free to check them out. And before I get into the analysis, I just want to talk odds. I want to let you guys know who the favorite is. And right now it's incredibly balanced. They're both at -110. Jessica Eye -110. Cynthia Calvillo -110. So it could be anyone's fight. So right off the bat, I want to start with saying that, you know, there was the weigh-in yesterday, and unfortunately Jessica Eye missed weight. It was kind of a sad moment. She does have trouble, you know, getting her weight where it needs to be, unfortunately. And, you know, like, she looked heartbroken when, you know, she weighed a bit over what she needed to. But, you know, with this being aside, like, she's an incredible fighter. Jessica Eye's got 15 wins and 7 losses. Her nickname's Evil. Dude, that's just danger right there. That screams danger. And she has a record of 15 wins. Specifically, she's got 3 by knockout, technical knockout, 1 by submission, and 11 via decision. And finally, she's got 7 losses, which are actually quite high. Of those 7 losses, she's lost 1 via knockout, technical knockout, 1 via submission, and 5 via decision. So, I mean, she is, I think, an incredibly good fighter. I think she's one that would most likely want to take it to those later rounds rather than just like submit you or knock you out, although she can do that. 7 losses are a bit high for my liking. You know, I think... But at the same time, you know, she is coming into UFC Fight Night Saskatoon with, you know, with 4 wins out of her last 5. Specifically, her last win was via unanimous decision in December 2019 against Vivian Araujo. And then the fight before that, though, she lost against Valentina Shevchenko via a knockout from a head kick, which was absolutely crazy, like 30 seconds into the second round. And then before that, she defeated Katlyn Chookagian in December 2018, and Chookagian's like one of the #1 contenders right now in that division, so that's also a point to consider. So yeah, with this being said, I want to react to some of the fights of Jessica Eye. So this was a fight between Jessica Eye and Jessica Rose Clark. Eye ended up winning via unanimous decision, but this is sort of how the fight went. So they started jabbing a little bit, high kicks here by Jessica Eye, high pressure. So just, she's one that maintains very high pressure, high tempo fighting. Boom, and then right here, exchanges, swinging high. Okay, and here, you know, this is the last round. Boom, hard exchanges. This was like a dogfight. They just kept hitting each other back to back. High kick there. Boom. Yeah, so basically, again, this was one of those fights that ended via unanimous decision. So Jessica Eye, like, strikes me as the type of fighter that doesn't really, like, engage hard for those, like, killer knockout punches, as would a fighter like Valentina Shevchenko would. She's more, like, she times it well. As you see, even when she jabs, she, like, tends to bring it back right away. And so she, like, tends to really want to not risk, you know, which explains why out of her 15 wins, she's won only 3 via knockout and then 1 via submission. And so right here, boom, she engages, but then always comes back, engages and then comes back. And so here, boom, amazing knockdown here, takedown here by Jessica Eye in the grip of Clark. And then that's exactly where it is. And so then this is where the two fighters start to tussle it on the ground. So Clark is looking for some form of hold. And on the other hand, Eye, though, sees it coming. And look at that. That's just like pure domination from the ground by Jessica Eye. Like, she has almost a full guard. And, you know, she basically just took over. And so that's the type of fighter that Jessica Eye is. You know, we sort of see her as someone who is, you know, she's going to win the majority. She won the majority from unanimous decision. So as a fighter, you won't really see her as one that's going to knock people out or, like, submit people. like as part of her normal performance, but rather she's going to try to feel you out, time her punches, and then slowly take you over, like she did in this fight, for example, against Jessica Rose Clark. Okay, so who is Jessica Ai going against? She is going against Cynthia Calvillo. She has a record of 8-1. She, the association that she's tied to is the Tiger Muay Thai Association. Of her 8 wins, she's got 2 via knockout, technical knockout, 3 via submission, and 3 via decision. And I think a really interesting fact here about Calvillo is that she's never lost the fight via knockout or via submission in the UFC. She's only lost 1 via decision. At the same time, she is coming into UFC Fight Night Saskatoon with a draw in December 2019. And before that, her fight was in February 2019 where she won via unanimous decision against Courtney Casey. So here, I mean, there definitely could be a factor to consider here because you have her latest fight around like 6 months ago ended in a draw, and her last fight before that draw, she won in February 2019. So we're talking over like almost a year and a half ago. But again, this is a fighter that has a very clean record with 8 wins and 1 losses. That shows a fighter to be, extremely on top of her game. And I think she's an extreme challenger here with Jessica Ai. I think another factor that does play a role here is the fact that Jessica Ai missed weight, and she was completely drained after the weigh-ins. So I think that could potentially play a role in her health when she goes into this fight. I don't know if she's going to be fully recharged just yet. I mean, yeah, the fighters usually fuel up after the weigh-ins, but only to a certain point, And so I think Cynthia Calvillo could potentially, take this one. She definitely doesn't have the experience that Jessica Ai has in the UFC, but at the same time, like of the fights that she's had, 9 total, they've all ended relatively in good fashion for her, except that decision loss against Carla Esparza in December 2017, which was a long time ago. I think she's definitely a top contender for this fight. I think she could win it, but I want to see some of her fights. Okay, so this was the fight between Cynthia Calvillo and Poliana Botello. In this fight, Calvillo actually submitted Botello in the very first round. And so here we have it. She's got the top guard, completely dominating her. I mean, punches from the side. She's trying to get that full guard. But again, she's just purely dominating. She's on top of her, just unleashing onto the head. And the back is slowly being exposed. Then here she gets a hold of the back finally. And when you're in that position, there's nothing that you can do to get yourself out of there, honestly. And, there's the tap. I saw a tap there. She taps again, almost desperately to try and get it, get her to get off. Like, that was an incredible submission. That was an incredible submission by Cynthia Calvillo there. The way that she was able to get on top of that situation, mount over her, punch her so that she could give her back to then choke her out like she did with that rear naked choke submission. It was sort of like the Diaz-McGregor where, you had Diaz sort of on top of McGregor punching him to the point where McGregor had to, out of protection, like turn his back. And then that's where Diaz was able to scoop it up, get the hold. That's exactly what Calvillo did. And this explains her 3 out of 8 total victories via submission. It's definitely part of her game. And honestly, I see her as a potential winner for this fight. I mean, she's definitely dangerous. So that's who I think is going to win the fight. I think Cynthia Calvillo is going to win despite the lack of, experience in the UFC and compared to Jessica Ai. I just feel like there's a lot of external circumstances that aren't really playing in Ai's favor. But at the same time, I could be proved wrong. The odds are extremely balanced for this one. But I think that Cynthia Calvillo could potentially get a victory here. It won't be easy for her. I could see her submitting Jessica Ai, not with ease, but I think it could happen. And if it weren't to end, via submission, I think it could potentially go the distance. I don't really see a knockout taking place or a technical knockout, but again, anything is possible with this sport. So I think Cynthia Calvillo is going to win this fight, but I'm also interested to know what you guys think. How do you guys think the fight is going to end? Comment down below who you think is going to win. Did that weigh-in in Jessica Eye, the fact that she missed weight, does that, play a role in the way that she's able to perform in this fight? If you've made it this far as well, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I've made other preliminary fights. I've made other predictions on the preliminary card as well as on the main card if you want to check those out below. And yeah, if you've made it this far, I hope you guys enjoy the UFC Fight Night Saskatoon, which will take place June 14th. It's going to be an incredible event. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys are staying safe. And finally, if you do subscribe and I see you guys in the next one, then we'll see you guys in the next one.